The first thing you're going to say about this squad is that, unlike his 5 counterparts, Declan Kidney does not pick a Six Nations squad per se, and therefore the demarcation lines to be drawn from this 24-man squad, a Wolfhound squad, and 6 players called in for training may not be as clear-cut as they look, and there could be some fluidity of movement during the course of the campaign between them. That being said, it does look, smell, sound and feel like there is a bit of a demarcation line between the squads. If you think back a year ago, Tomás O'Leary was picked in the Wolfhounds team to play the Saxons a week before the Six Nations started, and a lot of people deduced that he'd missed the cut. He played for the Wolfhounds, and sure enough, a week later he played in the Ireland's opening Six Nations game as well. And that is not inconceivable with Declan Kidney. You look at a player like Luke Fitzgerald, he's been absent for the last 3 weeks. He had been in sensational form up until then, and it could be that they feel now that he needs the game, particularly because if he weren't to play this weekend, then he definitely would need the game. So there might be he might yet be the one, particularly the one standout player in the Wolfhounds 22-man squad that could conceivably force his way in yet. But that being said, I don't see who he can force his way in ahead of. If you look at the 24-man squad, it's made up of 13 forwards, one of whom is Leo Cullen, and Leo Cullen has been penciled in for an operation next week on his troublesome Achilles in Sweden, and Leinster and Cullen would be of a mind to get it over with now, so that the 8 to 10 week recovery period could yet see him play some part at the end of the season for Leinster. But it would seem a little bit unfair on Cullen and Leinster were he to be kept on as cover, which he probably just would be cover throughout the Six Nations campaign when he is the Leinster captain, and he's clearly been pain as well. That would leave us 12 forwards, and that would, I think, pretty much pick themselves now. We've got a pretty clear idea what the composition of the team inside the squad is going to be like against Wales. The front row picks itself as it did in the World Cup. The second row is now a bit of an issue. Donegal Ryan's pushing very hard for Donegal Callan's spot, given that he used up to Munster, and the back row picks itself. It's clearly quite a conservative selection. 24 of the players all went to the World Cup. If Shane Jennings is going to be the cover in the back row for the established back row trio, in the absence of Wallace and Leamy, it clearly isn't billing with the next World Cup in mind. If you look further outside the pack, there is basically just one decision left, and that is which player to leave out once the team is picked. It looks as if Conor Murray is ahead of Owen Red in the pecking order. One would imagine Johnny Sexton will start the opening game against Wales. Gordon Darcy most probably 12-2. Rob Kearney almost certainly 13. Trimble and one Wayne Given his outstanding form for Ulster. And then it's a question of who they pick at 13. My understanding is they've been looking at Tommy Bowe in the Carlton House in the camp there for a couple of days. They were in camp along with Keith Earls. If you go back over the last couple of years, whenever Brian O'Driscoll hasn't been available, has been rested or injured, Keith Earls is always worn 13 and would still seem like the favourite. There's no natural replacement. It's going to be no specialist 13 now with Darren Cave out of the picture. So it's between most likely Bowe and Earls to play one of them on 13, one of them on the wing, Trimble the other wing, Kearney fullback. Then it's a question of who would be providing cover on the bench, Paddy Wallace or Fergus McFadden. It would appear to me as if McFadden is now ahead of Luke Fitzgerald in the pecking order. We shall see, particularly as he missed out in the World Cup. So that would seem to be the way the management are thinking.
And how do you see the Six Nations playing out over the next couple of months, Gerry?
Captains and coaches will all come together in the Hurling Club next Wednesday, and mantra-like all of them say the same thing, and that is it's all about momentum, it's all about winning your first game. Nobody's looking beyond their first game because they can't afford to. We can, because that's our bit of fun as pundits, fans, whatever, we can look ahead. But the actual opening game does define this season even more than most campaigns. Throughout the noughties, I think Ireland nearly won the opener in 9 of the 10 years, I think, in the noughties, and went on to strong campaigns, were always in contenders. Whereas throughout the very naughty 90s, they never won the opening match, and very rarely, and struggled always. And 97, 98 got the wooden spoon. Ireland haven't visited those dark days since. The consequence of winning the Slam in 09 and being strong contenders, the province is doing so well and having such a good selection of players that even without Brian O'Driscoll, Ireland would be expected to win their 3 home games, and less than that would be a big disappointment. Where they win their 3 home games and go on and get something on the road, neither France or England, then they're in bonus territory. I don't think Ireland have won the Six Nations going back clear-cut since the 40s in the biannual itinerary that pits them to London and Paris. It's just very difficult for Irish teams to win there, particularly in the professional era. So you look at it like that, the Welsh game looks the toughest of the 3 openers. So if they win that, they're better set to have a decent campaign. If they lose that, their backs are against the wall straight away. Aside from the momentum factor in winning or losing your opening match, throw in the fact there's a fair residue of cordite in the air arising from the World Cup quarter-final, and it is probably the season-defining game, the opener, so they got to hit the ground running, and that's partly why I think Declan Kidney has gone for what would be safely termed a relatively conservative selection.